Good morning, interweb. Welcome back to the Artifexian podcast. In this month's episode, I was wrong about spice bags and France. There's reference grammar and phonological reduction chat. Inni Cairn, an outsider, makes a request for relief. The great Tsii saga has been resolved, or fingers crossed anyways. And we wrap it up with class, case, and Nicaraguan currency. All that, plus lots more, in this month's episode. Okay, Bill, follow up. We have a couple of items to follow up. Two not very serious items, but I just want to clear them up. We talked last show about spice bags. So for anyone who missed the last show, this is the culinary delight that was invented in Ireland that one can purchase in Chinese takeaways. It's essentially, it varies, but it's essentially chips, some chicken, usually I think green peppers, onion, and like spice bag seasoning all mixed together in a bag delivered to your doorstep. It's some people say great, I would say horrific, but that's entirely a thing. I had made the spurious claim in the last show that you cannot get spice bags outside of Leinster, which is one of the 4 provinces of Ireland. That is, in fact, incorrect. I went and checked with my local Chinese takeaway. You can get a spice bag, although it's called a spicy box. Now, I didn't purchase said thing because I find it disgusting. I'm just assuming those are the same things.
What's the listed components of a spicy box?
They don't usually list these components on the menu, though, Bill.
Well, not even like, did you look at it on Just Eat? Maybe they do there.
No. I went the analog route of literally going and looking at a menu in the takeaway. But in any case, they are available outside of. And was it someone in Reddit also said that they were available outside, or did I get a message? I can't remember. It's no longer a Leinster only thing, but it was invented in Leinster. It has its origins in and around the Dublin area, and for a time it was limited to that area. So I was part right. It's become ubiquitous, but it was once upon a time limited. So my apologies goes out to the venerable spice bag. The other thing is, it was St. Patrick's Day the last time we recorded, which is really scary to think because that means we recorded mid March, and it is currently the first week of May. So yeah, time flies. But I had talked about how my local St. Patrick's Day parade had the theme of France this year. And that was particularly hilarious because, you know, it's an Irish national holiday. Surely the theme every year is in fact Ireland, right? That would make sense. Turns out I was also wrong in this part, or rather I was misinformed. It's not that France was the theme. It's that one of our twinned towns from France was given representation in the parade. So there was like a banner for said little town in Brittany, in France. And that was basically it. So it wasn't French themed. There was a French component to this. So yeah, I want to apologize to the institution of the St. Patrick's Day parade, I guess.
I'm a little disappointed, I have to say.
Yeah, I know, and especially given the track record, like I said, that one year the theme was Christmas, and that legitimately was a thing because I saw it play out. So I was like, this is completely on brand. But no, it was a normal. Let's have a look at all the tractors, and plus there was one little. I am trying desperately not to say the name of the town because otherwise people will find out where I live. The one little French town, a little portion there. So yeah, those just two. Very, very silly things from the previous show. More serious things from the previous show. I think it was Vulcan Trekkie in the Reddit was asking about, I guess, tips and tricks for reference grammars and how to make them and that sort of thing. I want to highlight a comment, again, from the Reddit by Cosmo Fishhawk 2. They left a comment about leaving a link to a thing called the Leipzig Style Guide, I think it was called. The Leipzig Glossing Rules, and it's essentially kind of a style guide for writing reference grammars. So in our context, for writing conlang reference grammars. Well worth, I didn't realize this thing existed. Well worth looking at if you want to make your reference grammars look a bit like linguistic papers. So I'm going to leave a link to that in the show notes, and shout out Cosmo Fishhawk for dropping that link. The other thing I want to say on that is that Langtime Studio, the wonderful YouTube channel and associated podcast ran by David J. Peterson and Jesse Peterson, who were on the Christmas quiz. Links in all the usual places to that. They did a podcast episode on writing reference grammars, going over like their do's and don'ts, what makes a good reference grammar, etc., etc. I do not currently have the episode number on hand, but by the time you're listening to this, dear listeners, I will have inserted a link in the show notes of that. So for anyone who's got any queries about reference grammars, those two links should get you started on kind of like assembling one. Yeah, makes sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool. The final point is a really quick point on my end anyways. Comes from Rek Jensen, frequent contributor to the show. And now my Reddit won't load again. Oh. Listeners, we were having problems making the show notes this morning because Reddit just would not boot. And it booted a while ago, and now it's having problems booting, and we are back. We're good. Sorry. So anyhow, Reddit's being a Rek Jensen. We were talking last show about phonological reduction, right? And this is this idea where grammatical bits, right, can get just reduced over time due to kind of frequency of usage. That is a separate thing, a separate though related thing to overall sound changes. And I cited the example of the construction I'm going to being reduced to like I'm a in English. Like, I am going to the shop, I'ma go to the shop. English hasn't like systematically erased all of those sounds everywhere across the language, but just in this particularly oft used and rather long construction, it has ground down.
Can you use that example again there, please?
Yeah. So it's I am going to the shop, turning into I'ma go to the shop.
No, I don't think that's accurate. I'm going to go to the shop would be I'ma go to the shop. Because you've used go there twice now. I'm a go is I'm going to go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. No, you're dead right. Yeah, sorry. You're dead right. Yeah. And point still stands though. It's the idea of taking the long thing and grinding it down. Yes. Sorry. Thank you for picking that up, Bill. So anyhow, I think I may have presented this in the last show as being a thing that has just occurred ubiquitously in like all of the various like dialects of English. Not my intention. Apologies, everyone. Like that's a African American vernacular English thing. And I'm assuming it's also spread into other dialects of English, you know, as a result of like kind of dialect contact or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I was not making the assertion. That's what dialects do, precisely. So I was not making the assertion that that's everywhere in English, but I was merely bringing it up to demonstrate the idea of stuff grinding down without the language having systematically erased all of those sounds. That's the point I was making. So I just want to bring that up just so I don't want to paint the wrong image of what's going on. Yeah? Cool. All right. And those are my little bits of follow-up. I believe you have something in follow-up if you can get Reddit to boot.
It's working perfectly for me.
God damn it. Okay, what do you got?
So user Lenrivk, it's my best guess at how to pronounce that, asked a little bit about the piece I'd written last episode, my piece of prose from E. Cairn, and the questions were...
Hold on, sorry to cut you off. Would you give us, before you go into that, would you give us just a TLDR of what that was?
Oh, certainly. So last month I wrote a diary entry of a merchant in a town in my setting, where the town leaders were considering ending their business with a sort of predatory trading company. As part of the ongoing setting that I'm writing. The questions that Lenrivk has were what are the terms of the contract this town has with the company? Why not simply wait for it to run its course and then not renew it? Why not seek another less imperialistic company to replace the contract with and let them handle the fallout? So the company are contracted to kind of be the sole means of importing and exporting goods to that town, because in this setting there's lots of like small settlements dotted over a very, very broad inhospitable landscape, or kind of unconquered landscape. So they need some kind of outside contact to do that, and they've just contracted with this Tamar company to bring them the goods they need from the outside world and to export the goods that they create. Mm-hmm. Why not simply wait for it to run its course? It's because they're making, or the proposal of those who are suggesting that they break the contract, they're making a political statement. They're trying to do a boycott of the company. And it's, a bit toothless if you just wait for it to run out. And why not seek another less imperialistic company? They're all essentially ideologically the same. And even going to another company would still be breaking the contract with the Tamar company for the moment. So
that makes sense. You have lots of options, and all your options are the same.
Yeah, you can have any color you want as long as it's imperialism.
That might be. Oh god, that would make such a lovely title if it wasn't so wordy. If I can boil that down, that might actually be an early title. I really dislike making the title of the show be something that crops up very, very early, but every so often there's an absolute banger that comes up early, and that you just can't resist. Like I believe the great Betamax Crinkle Dash thing, I believe that showed up in like the first minutes of that podcast. I think it was really early on when you started talking about Betamax Crinkle Dash, but it was just like, it's such a banger, it has to be the title. For anyone who has not seen that, I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to say those who seek shall find. It was a long, well, at this stage actually it's a long dead meme, but what a meme that resonates in the heart of Artifexia fans who have been around for many, many years. And that's all I'll say on that. Yeah,
I'm still kind of fond of it as a gag. I know it's a little played out and easy to run into the ground, but I think just like a gentle application of it can still be very effective.
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of I think it's been ran into the ground here, but I really hope, Bill, that you in everyday life, when meeting new people, when the opportunity arises, you Betamax Crinkle Dash things, and bring that joy to another group of people who don't know the meme. And again, I'm not going to explain this for people. Y'all just got to figure it out. Go over to the Reddit. It's so much funnier when it's not explained. I love it. Okay, that is it for follow-up at the moment. We got an email from a Jenna Krisovek, but we'll talk about that, I think, when we talk about Abheskii later on. So sure. If you're up for it, Bill, we could launch into another letter.
Let's do it.
World billing. We're back in Cairn, everyone. Shock horror. We don't do this at all. This is so non-standard. What do we got, Bill? You know the deal. Just you take it. I'm just going to go and just chill for a little bit.
So here we have someone who's a little bit of an outsider, responding to a crisis caused by the wave of agitation on Cairn.
Oh, okay.
Commander Patseva, please send a vessel and a detachment.
Good start. Sorry, that was a great start, Bill. I shouldn't laugh.
My entire.
I'm so sorry. We got that was like 6 words. Oh dear. Okay, right. We'll take that again.
Commander Patseva, please send a vessel and a detachment of troops with greatest haste. The situation here is dire. The weavers and the potters have cast down their tools and joined together in defiance of all authority. They proclaim solidarity with the agitation in your cities. Thus, our production has ground to a halt. Need I remind you the prosperity these products bring to you and the company? My textiles are highly sought in Zhikav. I attended a gala in AAAVE where I was served soup in my own dishes. Is this partnership to be repaid now in treachery? I have facilitated your Abheskii practices in this land. When my father balked at adopting your methods of business, I replaced him, and in doing so, our mutual prosperity has increased manyfold. Now, your Abheskii business has brought your Abheskii troubles to my operation. By my native customs, this cannot be borne. By your customs I have adopted, this cannot be borne. As an esteemed partner in commerce, as a shareholder, I insist upon your aid. The contribution of my efforts to the company's fortunes are no lesser than those of many a Spires-born merchant or business agent. I demand the treatment due to me in protecting my interests and those of the company. Attempting to use my own forces to quell this agitation nearly triggered a mutiny. Desertion has since reduced the numbers of my force to a scant handful. We are rendered unable to impose order upon the workers. Our factories yet stand, but my stockhouses, left unprotected, have been looted and burned. Let not this outrage go unpunished. A detachment of marines and the batteries of a vessel shall be sufficient to crush this uprising. Our commerce can resume with greatest haste once we have excised the agitationist elements from the population. Reproduction of letter found pinned to the remains of May Den Aryen by crew of patrol vessel Cloud Ice. Company assets under May Dan's stewardship have not yet been recovered.
All right, so I guess our horizons have broadened a bit this week, Bill. Tell us a little bit about this, and then I will ask some questions, as usual.
So, as I said, this is written from the perspective of a bit of an outsider, May Dan, who is not Abheskii and is not, he's a member and a shareholder of the Timar company, but he's not from a kind of an Abheskii region. He's more far-flung. His workers are striking and uprising in solidarity with the general labour agitation movement that's happening across the Abheskii sphere.
Okay.
And they've killed him. And this note was found pinned to his body.
Important detail there. The man is dead.
The man is dead.
Okay, so so like you say, he is not in the Abheskii. So where is this person at? Like, because in the first line here you say, "Please send a vessel and an attachment of troops with greatest haste." The situation here is dire. Where is here, if not in the Abheskii controlled lands?
He's not really saying that like the whole region is a problem, but just like his situation. But to answer the question, I haven't pinned it down. I reckon he's somewhere in the on the far side of the Usan belt, somewhere in the Trans-Usan region. So,
okay, and so for anyone watching on YouTube, the map will be on screen. There may be a link to it in the description. We'll see.
So there's the west-southwest kind of area of the map there on the far side of that big mountain belt. And
you have no name for these people as of yet, correct?
I haven't thought of one yet, no.
Okay.
So the Usan name, that's a very Abheskii focused name. Like that's the Usan belt is the name for that mountain range that the Abheskii use. So the people on the far side of that don't name themselves that because they're not using foreign naming conventions to think of themselves.
These aren't the Usini people.
Yeah.
You speaking about these new people, you've a line, third paragraph here. Now your Abheskii business has brought your Abheskii troubles to my operation. I suppose to back up, can you talk about that? What do you mean, like now your Abheskii business and the Abheskii troubles? Like, what does that mean?
So Mayden, has adopted more Abheskii styles of doing business, of doing commerce, through contact with the company. I was thinking what that might be would be stuff like his native practices. People would be maybe a little bit more like there'd be more of a kind of a sort of a feudal approach to how things operated. That the people would be tied to their work, and thus the employer would have certain obligations that would be seen to be necessary for them to meet, which is not a defense of feudalism. Just that's the situation as it is.
I always thought you were a staunch pro-feudalist.
I mean, who am I to go against the Pope? You know.
Wait, sorry. Hold on. I don't get that reference. Is the Pope pro-feudalism? I don't understand.
Well, I think like in medieval times, ultimately, like, authority was seen to derive from the Pope. That the Pope, like, was in theory the one allowing kings to be kings, and then the kings they dealt out power to their subjects, and then to their subjects in turn. But ultimately, the papacy was kind of seen as the legitimizer of temporal power.
I guess interesting question. If these people are like feudal or pseudo feudal, what is their pope? Where's the power coming from? What's the power structure like in this as yet unnamed culture?
It's just those that can wield it, I guess.
Okay, yeah. Like bigger army, more money, diplomacy sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. I guess you've kind of answered the next part of the quote that I started reading a second ago. By my native customs, this cannot be born. And I was going to ask, tell me about these native customs. So essentially, we have like pseudo feudalist people on one side of the mountain, and then like neo capitalism on the other side of the mountain. Is that correct? A broad scale, like surface.
Yeah. So what's happened here is that Maiden has come from this background with sort of feudal characteristics to how labor operates, and has adopted these more capitalistic ideas of how labor operates, where the workers are, if you don't like the job, you can just go get another job, and has taken the worst elements of both as far as worker happiness is concerned. He's using the most exploitive elements of both. And that has led to, as you can see, great dissatisfaction. And also exposed probably his workers to the agitationist ideas that have come from the Abheskii.
Okay, so yeah, the
if that makes sense.
What's the word? Like the intellectual contagion is spreading, sort of. These ideas are spreading around the place. All right, okay, cool. Is Maiden alone in adopting this Abheskii stuff? Is this something that the cultures elsewhere are rapidly adopting? Is everyone looking to the Abheskii and being like, I like the way you do business, we're going to do business like that? Or is this person a trailblazer, this Maiden?
It wouldn't be universal, but it wouldn't be uncommon either. Yeah, a lot of people are seeing the wealth that it can bring.
Okay, cool. Talk to me a little bit about this this quote here. Attempting to use my own forces to quell this agitation nearly triggered a mutiny. Mm-hmm. I remain baffled as to why, like, factory owners, like I think Maiden here is basically a factory owner, why they have like a militia associated with them. Is this kind of like, speaking the feudalism thing, is this kind of like Maiden having like a retinue sort of thing? What's going on there? Like, why do they have like people at arms when they run? What is it, like the weavers and potters? They run a weaving and pottery business.
So yeah, it's a little different to just owning a factory. He's a local potentate. He's probably some kind of aristocrat or whatever the local analog is. So it's not just that he has money and employs people to make textiles and pottery. He is a generally powerful man who I don't know, maybe he collects taxes of some sort, or it can't be reduced to just he owns a factory.
Okay. I still think it's nuts though, but I guess like a retinues were a thing. They were a thing back in feudal times, and it was a function of. Oh, sorry, go on.
I think we're kind of heading to the same thing there. He's some kind of baron or something, both in the feudal sense and in the industrialist sense. Some kind of combination of those two.
And speaking of the weavers and the potters here, because again, you say the line is, the weavers and the potters have cast down their tools and joined together in defiance of all authority. So again, the assumption here is that his business, at least in part, is to do with textiles and ceramics. Mm-hmm. Anything in this, is this region particularly noteworthy? Like, do people like these particular products from this part of the world, or is just happens to be the material that he makes? Do you know what I mean? Is this like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a I can't think of the word. Like a characteristic, I suppose, export from this region, you know?
So probably maybe not the overall region of his culture, but his specific region is known for its beautiful textiles and it's fine pottery or something.
Oh, that's right, because you say like my textiles are highly sought in GCAV, so people obviously like this sort of thing. Oh, and actually about that, you have the quote here: I attended a gala in AAVE where I served soup in my own dishes. Am I wrong in thinking that have we heard about something like this before? Am I mixing this up with like the winter's reverie we had before, where there was some sort of feast thing? Is it? Yeah. Am I getting my wires crossed here?
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, there was a kind of the Year's Rise revel in AAVE.
Yes.
Attended by a Dajag to Sascha.
Yeah. So was this chap serving the soup at that festival?
He was served soup.
Oh, but he was at the festival.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
I'd like to think it was the same one. I think that'd be neat.
Yeah, I love the way these threads span significant like IRL amounts of time. It's like that is a callback to something that occurred maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's about 5 years.
Which is just wonderful. So I guess, yeah, again, for people, ages and ages ago, Bill wrote a Christmas, I think it was around Christmas, like a sort of like holiday piece of prose that came from Cairn. And there was a big like feast, like a holiday feast or whatever. And this part here, a gala in AAVE where I was served soup in my own dishes, is making reference to that, which is just, again, it's a 5-year-old-ish reference, and I just think that's great. Absolutely great. Anything in this? When my father balked at adopting your methods of business, I replaced him. Is that an innocent replace, or is that I may have murdered my father?
Yeah, probably the latter.
Probably the latter. As I guess, like feudal aristocrats are, or feudal lords are wont to do. Yeah, Game of Thrones, except in a sort of factory sense. Is there any throne equivalent in a sort of factory sense? Like Game of CEO office chairs. What are those really expensive chairs, Bill? Oh, the Herman Miller's Game of Herman Miller. That's
okay,
it.
I'm going to look that up. I'm not familiar with that reference. I was thinking of like an Eames chair, but that's more of kind of a lounge kind of thing. Okay, right. I see what you mean.
So Herman Miller chairs are kind of like, I think they're the .com bubble sort of...
€659.
Well, no, you can get a chair in the thousands. Like you could easily, I think, pick up like a chair that's $1 or $2 grand from Herman Miller. And this is the sort of like, you are a yuppie. Like you have made it as a yuppie if you're sitting your ass on a Herman Miller chair. And it's just the most, I hate it so much. It's so consumeristic. It's like you can pick up a perfectly good, ergonomically, suitable chair from maybe not IKEA, but from other reputable retailers for like a fraction of price. But no, we need to signal to everyone that like, we're proper yuppies. It's like the movie. What's the movie with your man with the business cards? The business cards and the blood. What's that film? American Psycho, exactly. It's like that. It's like we need to just signal yuppiness to everyone.
Business cards and the blood.
That's an accurate description of that
It is.
film.
I knew exactly what you meant. Meant.
But yeah. So game of Herman Miller chairs, essentially. Now, was there anything else?
I do want to be clear though. When I
Yes.
say factory here, it's not like in the necessarily like in an industrial sense or like a steam power industrial revolution sense. It's just like it's a place where loads of stuff is made.
I was taking it like it was a place with robots and automation.
No,
I know. I joke. I did not take it that way.
I know you didn't.
Yeah, you're using that word for like general like productivity.
Yeah.
A place that produces stuff, or a region that produces stuff. So Maiden is dead. So I'm going to work on the assumption. Well, can I work? Who killed Maiden? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it could be that the rebels. I don't want to call them rebels. That's not right. The rioting
Strikers.
people. The strikers. It could be that the strikers killed them, or it could well be that someone from the companies came along and was like, "This guy is up in our grill. Just silence him, please." Like there could be a bunch of people who might have killed him. Do you anything on that, or do you want to just leave that unwritten?
I had it in my head that the strikers did it, and that genuinely the Tamari turned up and found him in the aftermath. But I did kind of think maybe that they weren't too pushed about saving him.
Yeah.
That, maybe like he's gone, then we can appoint someone a little bit closer to home to take over those operations. Kind of consolidate the control over it.
Right, as another form of capitalist colonialism, extend influence into that region. Yeah. So this is working out really well for the companies because they can. I'm assuming now with the Baron Herman Miller here dead. There's just the companies might have a remit to be like, oh, you poor people over there with the kind of like strife and turmoil in your region. Let us come in and settle, quell these feuds, and at the same time just like pacify, and at the same time just like establish yourself as the new factory owners, etc. And hence the Abheskii borders kind of functionally spread a little bit. Yeah, I could totally see it happening.
I don't know it would necessarily have been as explicit as that, but certainly like. They knew that if they didn't act immediately, the factories and stuff are still going to be there, and he's only there. He's convenient, but he's not required.
Right, precisely.
Even if it wasn't specific policy, it was not an unfavorable outcome.
Exactly. Yeah. Agree. Anything at all with this patrol? So a patrol of company people aboard the vessel Cloud Ice. Found Maiden here. Anything about this particular vessel? Why are they patrolling in kind of non-Abheskii territory? What's up there?
Well,
anything to talk about?
Patrol vessel is just like the name of the class of ship. They were responding to the striking. That's what they were there for.
Okay.
They just didn't arrive in time to save Maiden's skin.
Okay. And then final question on my end before I ask, did I miss stuff? The recipient of this letter, or the intended recipient of this letter, Commander Patseva. Anything about this person? He or she? I don't know. No, wait, I do know she. It could be she. Should be a she, I think. Anything about this person? We've not met this person before. Anything discussed there?
No, they're just a depot commander. So normally I refer to the surnames, like commander surname.
Oh yeah.
So
it
couldn't necessarily. So you can't gender the name that way. And you're right. The usual rule is that names ending in vowels are feminine names in Abheskii. But I thought that maybe actually just Maiden addressed her by her first name. In this, just because a difference in culture, he just did it slightly differently.
That's could be. That's like, I'm glad you brought up the ending of names signifying gender, because that's going to come into play once we talk Abheskii in a bit. That was a good bit of introductory stuff that I don't need to do. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, so nothing in the command there. So those are my points. Have I missed anything? Is there anything you in particular you want to point out, etc.?
No, in terms of the content, I think we've pretty much covered it all. In terms of style, I rewrote this, and I feel like a lot of the stuff that I write is in quite a similar sort of voice. And I would like to make it a little bit more diverse. So what I've done here is I took a lot of sentences that I had written with multiple clauses, which I think is very common in the Abheskii stuff that I write. And I split them into shorter, more declarative individual sentences. And I was thinking maybe that's a product of writing in a secondary language, because Mayden doesn't speak Abheskii or didn't speak Abheskii as his first language, or maybe it's just a different communication style for writing letters in Mayden's literary culture. So I tried to do that so that it would read a little bit differently. Like I think originally, the second paragraph was the weavers and the potters have cast on their tools and joined together in defiance of all authority, proclaiming solidarity with the agitation in your cities. And I split that into, in defiance of all authority, new sentence, they proclaim solidarity with the agitation. Stuff like that, just to give it a slightly different flow to what I usually write.
Bill, that is fascinating. I to be honest with you, I would not have picked up on that. But I think subconsciously, this felt different from before, and that is the exact reason. I think it's nuts that when I write stuff, I write in short declarative sentences, and I think this might be a byproduct of scripting YouTube videos for all these many years, or before, anyways, because you're constantly trying to, or at least my goal was to constantly try and save time. So I would just, use a bunch of demonstratives to just get rid of a whole bunch of sentences. Like, just to be like, and it goes from here to there, and you make this into that, and then everything's on screen or whatever, So I developed this sort of like extremely condensed, short, punctuated writing style. I've said before about your ability to write so well. It is largely a product of your ability to control all of these big run-on sentences in a way that I just find really difficult to do. I just haven't trained myself. So it's kind of interesting to see you going from your comfort zone of writing these giant Germanic-style sentences to something that's a little bit different. Whereas I'm the reverse. Like my comfort zone would be something like this, but I would really struggle to write very flowery run-on sentence writing. I think that's really, really interesting. Very interesting. I think that's such a subtle nod to the foreignness of Mayden. That's a really subtle nod. Like, hyper fans, when going and reviewing all these things, will be able to pick that up, even without us discussing it. If you just drop all these bits of prose on the internet and say someone compiles it and looks at it, they'd be like, yeah, there's a different writing style here. Could be because they're foreign. I think that's I'm really sad I wasn't able to pick up on it. That's really, really cool.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. Anything else?
I really struggled to come up with a vessel name. I don't know why. I couldn't.
Cloud Ice. I didn't want to say it because I don't want to be critical here. It's not my job to critique you. But Cloud Ice seems like a very sort of like. Oh God, don't take this the wrong way, but I guess kind of like gamer name.
Cloud Ice _X_420.
Oh no! I meant more like this sounds like it would be a cool name in a game.
Oh, okay.
Like it's marketing towards gamers, like a cool sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because your other names have been like, I think. Did you have something? You had the Sanan, I think, was a ship, and you had did you have something like Defiant, or am I mixing that up with Star Trek?
I think I did.
You had Defiant, and now we have Cloud Ice, which seems a bit out there, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm fully happy with it, but anyway, it's committed to wax now. So,
wait, these people write in wax?
No, it's recording. We've recorded it.
Oh, very good. Okay, sorry. Yeah, good call. But I mean, I guess you could always just chalk it up and say that each individual captain has an opportunity to rename the vessel or something. So this is just a person who has a particular gamer sensibility when it comes to naming vessels, and it's not indicative of the culture as a whole. And like, why cloud ice? Like, why not just the cloud? I guess because you need two names there really to have any sort of impact. You can't just be like the patrol vessel ice. That's a bit weird sounding. Yeah, you'd need two. Oh well, like you said, it's in wax. It's recorded in ink. Now, shall we do? I was about to say, shall we do some Greenwood, but shall we do some Abheskii?
Let's do some Abheskii.
Okay, let's talk Abheskii, the Abheskii lang, the language of Abhesk. So first of all, just I'm going to stop saying this after a while, but links to the reference doc for the Abheskii language are in the description. You can go check it out, read through it, etc. And again, just real quick for anyone who might be new here, the setting we just heard, where this letter came from, it's called Cairn. And one of the main cultures in Cairn are the Abheskii people. And I thought, instead of doing absolutely nothing on this show, and because Bill does all the legwork on this show, this is ostensibly, like, air quotes, my show, I should probably contribute it to some degree. So I was like, how about I help you make a language for the Abheskii people? And that's what we've been doing for the past number of months. This is we're going to hold the record for the world's slowest executed conlang ever, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's like a what's a slow cooked pork. It'll take ages, but hopefully at the end it'll be nice. So reference doc in the description, go check it out. It is now finally kind of completely up to date. So if you're listening to this as this episode drops, it is it's the most updated version of the doc yet. And Bill, I don't know if you had a chance to check it out, but like I fleshed out the dictionary. We have now 27 official words in there. It just I hate to be all like, the thing I made looks really cool, but the thing I made looks really cool. You should go check it out.
Yeah, no, I'm very pleased with it. It's yeah, I'm really glad. It looks so nice.
That warmed the cockles of my black heart. Shout out DJP for releasing to the public his reference grammar template. They did it on the YouTube channel, and I'm heavily inspired by that. I've basically taken 90% of it and turned it into my own style, which is just great. So thank you, David J. Peterson. So reference doc. Now, the couple of things I want to talk about today. First thing I want to talk about is the great Tsii saga of 2024. Mm-hmm. As a reminder, again, Bill's names in Abheskii, they can come with a little particle in between first and second names, like Yar, Te, Yarlin. First name, particle, surname. And we were trying to, over the past number of months, figure out what this particle is doing. And on the live streams, again, patrons, you'll be able to watch the live streams when I work on this lang. I'll post that on Patreon. We came up with what I think is a good solution. And I think it was based on an idea that some people in Reddit may have had, but also you had live on the show. And that is the regional variation or the dialectal variation thing, right? So to explain how this came to be, Bill, and to get your blessings on this, we have in Abheskii, in Proto-Abheskii, there was a word, I don't have the doc open in front of me now at the moment, but I think there was a word guete, with a guete, which meant ship, right? Sure. And in one dialect, that got used in names. So you'd have first name, ship, last name. The idea being that it's like you're modifying the last name with the word ship. So like the shippers of that clan, for example. Like first name Shipman almost, you know, like John Shipman, except to be like, you know, Yar, Guete, Yarlin, sort of thing. In one dialect, that Guete got boiled down to Te, and in another dialect, it got boiled down to Tsii. But they come from the same root and they mean the same thing. And this is what's known as a doublet in linguistics, where it's like or an etymological twin. They mean the same thing, but they come from the same source. Like, I think fire and pyre or was it something and levy? Leave and levy? Is it leave and levy? I can't remember, but yeah, things like that. They come from the same source. I had originally dismissed this idea out of hand as being a bit of a cop-out, purely because it at the start it felt like, oh, we can't come up with any ideas as to where these two things came from. Let's just hand wave and say they came from one place. But as it turned out, just the way the phonology worked out, the way the sound changes worked out, it actually made like perfect sense. And I think it's really good from a world building standpoint because we get this idea of like, shipping, being airfarers, being waterfarers, because so much of what we've read about the Abheskii people is to do with their sky, I was going to say pirating, but that's not it, sky boating, sky vesseling sort of thing. So that kind of bakes that central aspect into somebody's names. And I think that is absolutely feckin' golden, if I do say so myself. Thoughts? Do you concur?
Yeah. So it kind of means Yar of the ship Yartlan, or Yar shipper Yartlan. Yar
of the shipping Yartlands is the way I would phrase it. Yeah. So the Yartlands who shipped, or I guess you could say like it's kind of like it might be that the Yartlands were all shippers in a way, But yeah. Something like that. The only modification that we could make here, and I didn't want to do this without consulting you first, is we could swap out the word ship here for the word sky, all right? So like of the skies, Yartlands, right? This would be contingent upon whether or not them being like, what's the word I'm to use here? Because I don't want to be like aviators. Would you use the word aviator here?
I guess, yeah.
Okay. This is contingent on them being aviators. Yeah, if they're aviators and have been aviators for a long, long time, we could potentially swap out the word ship for the word sky, which would be even more kind of evocative of the culture you have created. But that would only work if they've been in the skies for a long, long time. So have you got any info for me on that?
Well, the word for sky is Kemo, though.
We could change that. I would change that because I think it paints a better cultural image of the Abheskii. It bakes their culture better into their language, so I have no problem changing that if that's a thing that you were up for.
Sure. I mean, I'm open to words being changed, but no, I prefer it coming from ship than sky.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's where we're at now. Te and Tsii, they basically they're just a particle now, but originally they all meant ship. And I am so delighted we came to that. So we can now finally draw a big fat line under the great Te Tsii saga of 2024.
Going to make some more particles now just to keep you working.
Please don't. Please don't ever do that. I saw in the prose that May Den character. I saw the Den in between the first name, what I thought was the first name and the last name, and I was like, oh my god, don't, Bill. Please don't do this to me. So I'm really thankful that person is not a Abheskii. Now, before we move on from the Te Tsii stuff, I need to just clarify something because once again, I did not make explicit some things that you and I understood that I think led people to be a bit confused. So real quick, lots of people were messaging me to be like, Edgar, you're really pushing the idea of these particles being gendered. And I think the impression people got was that I kind of my axiom was that particles necessarily always have to be gendered, right? Like that was my understanding of these naming particles. That if there is a particle there, it's got to be gendered, otherwise it's invalid, like it's linguistically invalid or whatever. And this is coming from an email from Jenna Krisavek that we got on this, who basically pointed out that there's a whole bunch of things they can be. You know, you could essentially, the sky is the limit with what these particles could be. So two things here. First thing was the sky wouldn't have been the limit because they would have to fit the Abheskii culture, right? Like, so what you have described of the people we want to bake in to their naming convention in this case. So that reduces the possible set of options down a little bit. The more important point, the reason why I was so kind of focused on the gender was that, as Bill mentioned a few minutes ago, it's been established that names that end in a vowel were female and names that end in a consonant are male. And the word list that Bill had made for me, which is now in the reference doc, links in the description, you can go through it and you can see that for the most part, or at least up until 2 months ago, for the most part, there was an almost perfect one-to-one correlation with male name and the te particle and female name and the tsii particle. So I erroneously thought that this was, that screamed gendered particle to me, but I was wrong because that's not what Bill intended. It just was a fluke of, I guess, naming, and you had said in the Reddit, and we never mentioned this on air, that you're going to endeavor to make more names that don't, that kind of cross that boundary and blur that sort of thing. So the whole gender discussion thing all stems from the fact that if you, without any help from Bill, without just talking to you, if you were to just look at the words, you would be like, very clearly, these particles mean son of, daughter of, like so clearly. And that's why the idea of gender, why I was so on that idea of gender. It is not that I think if I see particles in name, I think they have to be gendered, otherwise they like break the second law of linguistics or something. But I never pointed it out on the show because I'm an idiot. So everyone was confused, and it's all because of me. So hopefully we've come to the end of the Tsii saga, and hopefully people aren't confused. So yeah, because lots of people were just like, Edgar, you do know that particles can be X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I do know, lads. But the problem is I didn't vocalize it on the air. So this is my attempt to do that. Make sense?
It does. It does make sense.
Okay, right. So the two very quick things I need to know from you today about Abheskii, and we will work on this on the live stream, is I want to finally talk about class and I want to talk about case. I need to know a little bit about this before we proceed with the conlang.
Sure.
Let us start with class. Now, I think you had said in the previous show that you were kind of like a bit meh about class as an idea. Just to point out some pros and cons here of to consider, and it might possibly modify your opinion on this. Is that if you have class, you kind of for free get a bunch of third-person pronoun forms. So, the reason why we have he, she, it in English is because of like old masculine, feminine, neuter distinctions. Whereas if you have a classless language, the expected behavior of the language, not the only behavior that's possible, but the expected behavior is that you would just have a single third-person pronoun that means like singular they. So if that's a thing that you were already wanting to do, you were already wanting to not have any sort of distinction in third-person pronouns, be they gender or animacy or anything like that, no class is a good option there. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay. Now the bigger thing that I think is a reason why class in this language is probably a no-go, again, probably, everything can work, is that, so what makes class is agreement, right?
Yeah.
Because as we've already, and I appreciate you and I have actually already talked about this off air, but just to put it here and, talk with people,
because we get wound up in difficulties when we don't put things explicitly on air.
Correct, Bill. So this is us doing it correctly. So we've already done stuff with animacy in the number system, right? Like certain plurals only occur with animate nouns, certain plurals with inanimate nouns. Or in fact, there's no plurals with inanimate nouns. It is very natural to say, well, that language now must have class, right? Because it concerns itself with classes of nouns. But that is not what noun class is. What noun class is when this sort of like concerning yourself about the category of nouns is creates a broad scale agreement system, right? So like in German, you have like eine, kleine, Blume, right? Blume is a flower. It's a feminine noun. And because of that, the article ein has to become eine to agree with Blume. It has to get a feminine ending. The adjective klein, small, also has to get a feminine ending, kleine, to agree with the noun, right? And that's what makes class, this agreement pattern, this tying things together. Without agreement, haven't got class. So in this language, because of the way we've done sound changes, the kind of where I would be looking at, or the most natural thing would be that your, like, say, adjectives, maybe numerals, and almost certainly maybe nouns would all end with some sort of like suffix, right? They'll have some sort of marker for class. And because we've done the sound changes in such a way that we don't really eliminate an awful lot of sounds, your language will sound very onomatopoeic when spoken. So you'd have very much like verb at the front, and then you might have wordy, 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 worda, 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 where this E suffix is one class and say is another class. So lots of your sentences, and because the class is so kind of like, it's such a broad scale thing, like in German, every sentence is basically concerns itself with class. So anytime there's any sort of written Abheskii, or if we speak Abheskii on the thing, you'll get lots of, wordy, 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 worda, worda, worda sort of thing, which maybe is a vibe you don't quite like, or you do, I don't know. So I'm going to put it to you and ask you for your thoughts.
I don't like that vibe.
Yeah, okay, grand. So are we safe to say zero class?
Much like myself, zero class.
You said it, not me. No, I joke. You might be one of the classiest people I actually know. So, actually, that's not true. There's actually a much classier person, and they're going to make appearance in the green room in a little bit. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. So no class, right? Okay. Case. Feelings towards noun case, Bill. We all know that you can't fathom speaking a language without cases.
You say one foolish thing and people bring it up 3 months later. No, but that's totally fair.
So do I take it then that you would envisage Abheskii as having cases, correct?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yes. Okay. I think the only two questions that concern me here, I guess three. One, do you have any preconceived notions about what sort of cases you want, or is this too much down the kind of conlang rabbit hole for you to have considered?
I think it's a little far away for the moment.
Yep. That's fine. Broad scale, would you enjoy a language that was very, very case heavy, like say Finnish? Or would you prefer a language that is more case light, like for example, Irish? Where you kind of only really have two cases. You kind of have the unmarked case and then the genitive, and that's it. There's kind of like two patterns. Or Finnish, where it's like 20 million different cases. Thoughts there, aesthetics wise?
I kind of like the idea of having a good few.
Good few. Yeah. When you say good few, would you? Okay, so the sort of, there's a thing called the core cases, right? Mm-hmm. You don't need to know what they are, but they're the ones that crop up an awful lot. It's about 4 of them. Yeah. Would you class 4 as being a good few, like in German? A few more than that. Right, so you want a little bit more than that. Okay. If you have no particular feelings, am I at liberty to decide what cases would occur?
There's probably a few. Like, I kind of like the idea of there being a vocative case. Okay, good. I'll take a note of that. You want a vocative case, okay? Yeah. I'll have a look at what other ones there are. But yeah, like if I don't fully populate a list, suggest some to me and I'll probably approve them.
Well, so here's the thing, right? Just so we're aware, what makes cases is basically just adpositions being smacked onto a noun, right? That's what case is.
Yeah.
So in theory, you can have any case. That any preposition could become a case, right? Mm. So like there's a bajillion different like case lists out there, So it's not like there's, what am I trying to say here? It's not like there are like a particularly closed set. Like you can be like, you could basically suggest anything and we can make a case out of that as long as it's something that was an apposition,
Yeah.
So, right, we'll leave that as an open sort of ish question. I think at the very least, you're going to need a nominative case, which is the default unmarked case. You want a vocative. If you're going for a multi-case language, you're probably going to look at having a genitive for procession, having a dative for indirect objects. Like that's the very stock, the four I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
The accusative for the accusative, yeah. And because you want to be able to move chunks of the sentence around, it's good to be able to mark the accusative versus nominative so you can move them around. So at the very least, we're looking at 5 there. And then probably after that, some locational ones maybe.
Yeah.
Like cases for in something, on something, under something, to be located around the thing is probably what I would advise there. Sound okay for a beginning?
It does, yeah.
Okay, cool. And then final question on this is, I think the answer is going to be affixes here, but I just need to check. Do you want your cases to be marked on the nouns, right? Like in Indo-European languages? Or do you want something more like Japanese, where your case marking is actually its own separate little particle that comes, in your case, after the noun? Now, just to preempt you, I would say based on the decisions you've already made, because you said you want a kind of more agglutinative, fusionally language, the implication for me there is that you would have an affix, like they would fuse on. But if you really like the idea of having these, like having case particles as opposed to suffixes or as opposed to affixes, say now or forever hold your peace.
Does it have to be? No, this is not me angling for a particular outcome, but just for clarity, does it have to be affixes? Because, like in Irish, it's not really done with affixes; it's done through sound changes.
Well, yeah, but it's done through consonant mutation, which is a particular thing, and we don't have something like that set up.
No, for like I know the dative case is kind of gone, but that changes the dative case and the genitive case in Irish. They kind of change the quality of the vowel.
Sometimes it's not universal across the board, and like lots of the changes are just a consonant mutation. Like for example, like take at the woman. If you say at the woman, for people here, at, egg, the, on, woman, ban, right? You'd think it'd be egg on ban. It is not that. It is egg on man, where the B mutates. So that case marking there is purely just a result of consonant mutation. And I think, based on nothing but a gut feeling, that is the predominant form. You're dead right that like vowels change quality, etc. But that's because these things are messy. But most of the time, it's a product of consonant mutation. So I would really not be comfortable doing something like that because we've not set anything like up like that in sound changes. You know. Now that being said, as well, right? Like we can very easily have an affix that erodes away and perhaps changes. Oh no, our sound changes don't permit the changing of the quality of the vowel. Basically TLDR, our sound changes wouldn't permit something like that. It would, the way we've done it, it would be a very clear suffix stuck on the end, or it would be a very clear particle. It would be a little bit difficult for me to do more suppletive things. Suppletive being where it's just like a change in the vowel in the middle.
That's a new word I've never heard before.
That actually, now that I say that's actually not the correct usage of the word suppletive. Suppletive is more like, you know, where you have the word I.
Yeah.
In English, like as in I, the pronoun, and then the first person plural, it's not I's, it's we. It's a whole different thing. That's suppletive, where if it's just a whole different word for things that you would think would be related. Like It should be I's, but it's I, we, etc. Yeah. So the way we've done sound changes is it would be very much like the Latin sort of like there's a very clear suffix at the end of nouns, or it's a particle stuck out on its own. But beyond that, it would be difficult to do anything else.
I think an affix is the way to go.
Okay, I agree. Thankfully, but yeah, had you said the other way, I would have made it work. But I think that's what we're after here. Okay, cool. So that means the next time we talk Abheskii, we should have, hopefully, fingers crossed, nouns done. right? Because we have number done. We know we're not going to have class. I'll work on the cases. And you said you do not want definite markers on your nouns. You don't want those. No the. That's basically the four things. Yeah. Are you still committed to that?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So that's basically the four things that nouns, the four main things you want to figure out with nouns. That is nouns done. And then we get into the horrible world of verbs, I guess, which I hate. And yeah, here we go. Okay, anything else to add? Should we do green room?
I don't think I have anything else to add. Let's do green room.
Perfect. Last thing we need to talk about today is green room. We are back with the triumphant return of Bank of Artifexia. We've not been into the bank in a while, Bill.
Yeah, how long's it been?
I'm going to say it with the rate of we make podcasts, maybe 2 years.
I don't think it's been quite that long.
No. I don't think it's been that long. But for anyone who might be new here, Bank of Artifexia is a thing where people write snail mail into us. If you want to do that, all the details are in the description. And in said snail mail people include small banknotes. Emphasis on small. I do not want anyone sending me like whatever, the equivalent of like $100 or euros or something. Just send us in a little small banknote. I update this thing called the Bank of Artifexia map where we see where all the things, how the money collection is going, etc., etc. It's just this fun little, collector's thing we're doing. And also, you get to have your stuff read out in air and engage in the art of penmanship, which is a dying art. Speaking of penmanship, the letter we received to the Bank of Artifexia, I say this month, but more on that in a bit, comes from longtime contributor to the Bank of Artifexia and snail mail enthusiast Samuel de Barba. Now, this is private. Yes, this is private between us, Bill, but if you can go into the show notes there and have a look at Samuel's intensely beautiful handwriting, it is like a calligraphic masterpiece, their letter. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
That's lovely. Yeah.
I write like a 2-year-old compared to this. No, I write like an amoeba compared to this. It's ridiculous. Man, I hate to massage each other's egos here, but there's been some banger candidates for show titles in this episode, I gotta say. Many good ones. Now, the letter. Samuel writes to Bill, Edgar, and families. Lovely touch there, saying hello to our families. The captain, Sam, wishes you all the best. Sam writes, sending you the warmest season's greetings and hoping you have a lovely holiday. So I suspect this letter was in fact sent in 2023 around Christmas time. But given how slow things are in getting to these fair isles, we're only just receiving. I only received it last month, so I'm really sorry. It's long overdue. We have not been ignoring you. It quite literally has been in transit, Sam. Now, Sam goes on to write, and this bit utterly baffles me, and I don't know what this is. Edward Gorey is always a win in my book, they write. If either of you were from Gorey, then this would be more relevant. But anywho, best wishes, Sam. Do you know what this is, Bill? Because I'm really confused. What is Edward Gorey? Who is Edward Gorey? What's his relevance here?
Well, Gorey is a town in Wexford.
Oh, it's also a town in Galway.
Is it?
It is, yeah, because lots of people in the school I went to, I went to boarding school for a time, were from Gorey. Yeah.
I've gigged in the Wexford one. I haven't gigged in the Galway one. Edward Gorey is the artist who drew the card, like the image on the front of the card.
Okay, I'll include the image on the front of the card because it's not like of personal nature. So if you want to check it out, you can go check in the show notes. Okay, is this person a well-known artist?
Well, to Goths he is.
But now, Goths in the sort of historical sense or in the sort of like black metal music sort of or emo music sort of sense?
Well, in the goth music rather than emo or black metal, but yeah.
Really? Oh, yeah. Tell me more. I don't know anything about this. Why is he beloved of Goths? What is this? What's going on?
They like his aesthetic, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Goths in the sack of Rome sense. They weren't interested in Edward Gorey, no. They were much more they were more into Gary Larson.
Sorry, Gary Larson? Oh, Sam, you've uncorked a whole barrel here. What is What is Gary Larson?
Gary Larson did The Far Side. You know those comics, those cartoons?
No, hold on.
Okay,
Gary
no,
Larson.
I was making a very, very silly joke. Don't.
Wait, hold on. I'm sure someone in the subreddit is laughing right now. Gary Larson. It's fun. So Gary Larson is a cartoonist. I enjoy the fact that on Gary Larson's Wikipedia page, the man is a cartoonist, right? Mm-hmm. There are no images of cartoons on Gary Larson's Wikipedia page.
They're probably copyright.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
I would be astonished if you didn't recognize The Far Side. Any of the Far Side. Yeah.
Far Side. Comics? Just Far Side?
It was like newspaper comics and like little, like one panel cartoons usually.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that particular style of okay, yeah, I guess so. I would not have known them as being the Far Side comics.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Sorry, I know it's always funnier when you explain a joke. Why is this a joke?
The idea that the people who sacked Rome in 450 AD liked the Far Side because I was saying Goths liked Gary Larson. It's just silliness.
That's a very good joke. I now that I understand the context, I think that's an excellent joke. I lolled.
Thank you.
I'm assuming this Edward Gorey chap is a relatively new artist.
No, like he died in 2000 or so.
Sorry. I meant new as in the sense of like he wasn't a contemporary of like bloody, I don't know, who's a painter? Degas or something like that.
He was a 20th century artist.
Yes, that's exactly what I was saying. Okay. All right, cool. Well, there you go. Thank you for that one, Sam. I learned something and I understood an obscure joke. You've rounded my experience more, Sam. Now, Sam makes 3 contributions to the Bank of Artifexia. 2 of which I'm not going to talk about purely because, and Sam acknowledges this as well in the slightly longer letter, that 2 of them are already in the Bank of Artifexia. Those are the Polish currency, the zloty, I can't pronounce that correctly, but it's something like that, and the Philippine currency, which, is it a peso? The Philippine currency? I need to look that up real fast.
I think so.
It's peso, not peso. It's spelled peso on the note, but Google says it's peso, so I don't know.
Or in Philippine, it's peso. Depending on the language you're using, it looks like.
Philippine English, it's peso, or peso, or peso, or piso. Apparently, in Filipino, actually, it's piso. Yeah. So it's a whole bunch of things. Regardless, we won't dwell on those because those have already been contributed to the Bank for Artifexia. But I am, even if they're duplicates, really this is all just a big excuse for people to send in snail mail. So I am thankful regardless. But the one I want to focus on just briefly is the new note, the new contribution to the Bank for Artifexia. In a severely underrepresented corner of the world, that is Central America, we have 10 Nicaraguan Cordobas, which I found really interesting as a name, Cordoba. As in, when I hear Cordoba, I think of the place in Spain. Mm-hmm. But yeah, 10 Nicaraguan Cordobas. Links in the show notes to pictures of these things. It's a very, I would say, underwhelming note in terms of art style. Like, it's not up there with like some of the madness we've seen before. I think it's the obverse, again, show notes, have a look at this, the like translucent palm trees, you should be able to see these, are a bit goofy looking. If you have a look at that in the show notes, they're kind of like, they have this giant like cartoon like stroke about them. And everything else is kind of like, very kind of like lino printing, very precise lino printing style vibe. And then it's just this like kind of goofy, too cartoony palms, which is, it's definitely an aesthetic choice right there. Not sure I would agree with that one, but there you go. For anyone who's wondering, the 10 Nicaraguan pesos is 22 pence, I think it's pence sterling, 25 cents euro, and 67 cents USD. And I tried to do some looking into the particular what's particularly shown, like the iconography of this. And though fortunately this note actually makes it explicit. They literally write in words what the pictures are. On the front we have Puerto Salvador Allende Managua, which I as far as I can see is just a landscape of Managua, which if my geographic knowledge serves me correct is the capital of Nicaragua. And then at the back we have La Vequita, Fiestas Patronales de Managua. And I think this is La Vaquita, at least according to Wikipedia, is like the patron saint of festivities. And this is someone dancing, I think, in honor of this person, which I think is pretty cool. So, yeah, 10 Nicaraguan not pesos, Cordoba, added to the Bank of Artifexia. So the map shall be updated for new viewers. Also very interesting, I found that the currency code for the Nicaraguan Cordobas is not what you would expect, like NIC, like, you know, Nicaraguan Cordoba. Makes sense. It's NIO. So NIC must be taken, and I'm kind of like, by whom? Like Nigerian something or other? Like, what is Nigerian money? Nigerian
Dollar?
money. It's the Naira or Naira. The Nigerian Naira. Jesus, one Nigerian Naira is 0.00066 euro. Whoa. What about Niger? Hold on. Niger money. They use the West African franc. Whoa. Oh my God. Oh, it's a ubiquitous currency in like Benin, Burkina Faso, Niger, Senegal, Togo, etc., etc. Wow. Okay. Well, anyhow, that is Bank of Artifexia. Thank you very much, Sam, for writing in. As always, it's just such a great pleasure amongst all of the bills and junk mail to receive wonderful letters from viewers. It genuinely mean this. It brightens up the day. I really like it. So yeah, send in your snail mail.
Thank you, Samuel.
You got anything to add, Bill?
I don't think I do. I think I derailed enough with my silly cartoonist gags. So
I thought, again, having learnt about them, I thought they were exquisite. Hold on, you went places and I didn't receive any money from you. What's this about? Sam is a better friend to me than you are.
Wait, what places did I go?
Were you not in Finland?
Yeah, they use the euro there.
Do Finland use the euro? Sorry, I was thinking, I just, in my head, I was like, Sweden don't use the euro, so therefore none of them use the euro. And
but
Norwegians don't.
I didn't go to Norway.
No, I know, but Norwegians don't use the euro as well. Isn't Finland kind of odd in Scandinavia in using the euro, I think?
Well, let's see if you consider it to be Scandinavian.
Oh, let's not get into that.
It's not.
Because that can unravel. I think Austria is part of Scandinavia, is my stance.
I think Australia is part of Scandinavia.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Well, listen, if Australia can take part in the Eurovision, anything is a part of Scandinavia. This town the town I live in is part of Scandinavia as far as I'm concerned. Norway, yeah, they definitely don't use the euro because they're not in the Eurozone. They're in the like the economic area.
They're not in the EU.
Right. Yeah. They use the krona, yeah. So I guess I was wrongly assuming that because two of the big three nations in what some might call Fennoscandia, maybe,
Of the four.
Or the four, like, and Iceland is the one.
No,
Denmark. I guess Denmark. I know, but you can also Scandinavia is this whole awkward thing, man. To be honest with you, what I usually go on, I usually group all five together, which I'm sure will infuriate someone. But like Iceland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. That's what I kind of in my head think of as being Scandinavia. I appreciate that is probably erroneous, and I'm sure someone would be like, "What about Greenland?" Even though it's part of Denmark, but like culturally it's not very Danish, or it's a whole thing. Anyway,
well, do you want to be really mad?
Oh no, what did I do?
I did also go to Sweden. But you already have Swedish money in the Bank of Artifexia, so that's why I didn't send you anything.
I'm sure that's the case, Bill.
It did. I checked.
Well, if that is actually the case, that is very heartwarming. I wouldn't expect you to have me on the brain like that. That's very sweet, actually. That warms, again, the cockles of my black heart.
Better.
I do wish I could get some Icelandic money. The captain and I were thinking, and we really need to wrap up the show in a bit, so I promise I won't keep quacking on. But the captain and I were loosely thinking about maybe attempting to get to Iceland for the upcoming eclipse in, is it 2026, I think? There's an eclipse that, it goes, the center of the eclipse basically runs over Reykjavik.
Cool.
So we were like, maybe we can go up there and I could pick up some currency, etc. But Iceland is just so beautiful, but also so damn expensive that it is off-putting. And it's actually looking that we might go to Algeria instead.
Cool.
I mean, because it's cool, and also it's almost certainly cheaper. Anyhow, Bank of Artifexia done. Shall we go? Shall we say goodbye?
Yes, let's.
Bye. End
Goodbye.
call.
Until next time.
Until next time. I should let you do it. Actually, you do the sign out, Bill. I always do the sign out. Let's go. Let's see. Have you been paying attention to me? How does the sign out go?
Until next time, Edgar out.
No. You have to thank everyone, Bill.
Oh, I have to thank everyone.
Yeah, you have to do the whole outro.
Okay, can you beep that previous bit there where I did it wrong?
Absolutely not.
I'm going to beep it before I send it to you.
You're going to send me a bunch of audio files with like just your voice being like beep.
Yeah.
No. Okay, you go. You do the outro.
Okay. Let me get this straight in my head.
It's harder than you think, you know.
So, thanks everyone for listening. Chat, thank you for being in chat with us. Thanks to all the patrons.
Yep.
Thank you to you, Edgar.
Oh, thanks, Bill.
And until next time, Edgar
out. Now, I will say, I think that was an admirable, like, B+, right?
Okay. Not bad for a first attempt.
No, it's not.
Off the dome, no prep.
And we could always practice before you do it again next month.
Okay.
But I think the thing is, you forgot to add the bit of grit to the until next time.
Right.
It was a very prosaic rendering of that. It didn't have the oomph.
Didn't have the teeth.
No, and you didn't build the hype train. You know, you want to build it up to a climax and then drop it off a cliff, you know.
Okay.
But again, B+, nothing to be ashamed of, and we'll work on it off air.
Great.
All right. See you later, man.
See you later.